Fast cars, fast service. Visit lebhobbies.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Slot Car News. We got to move them TVs, we got to move them refrigerators. Yes, we do. We're starting off with MRSlotcar of all people this week. Yeah, more news from them. They have 4 Indy cars that they will be showing at some point. Until then, we have these liveries that they're showing now. This news comes to us by way of MRSlotcar. Massimo's a good guy. Check him out. Probably you all already do. That's awesome. Hope that you do. So he has 4 liveries that he's going to be doing. Evidently, these are officially licensed as well, which is pretty interesting because that's not going to be cheap. And hopefully there is some kind of reciprocal agreement that MR is going to get these marketed to people, because Indy does a pretty terrible job of marketing here in the US, and it's going to be difficult to sell these anywhere but the US because it's a US series that is virtually unknown outside the US. Yes, I'm aware of what I just said. I know there's drivers from overseas. Nobody pays attention to the series anywhere other than the US, and only usually one race a year. Next, we have Avant showing a Legacy, a Subaru Legacy. Just the CAD files here now. What's really interesting with them, they've really been hitting a lot of really great Japanese cars that are rally cars in the ways that they do them. It's cool that they're doing these. I'm glad to see, frankly, more Japanese cars come into the market. Yes, this is going to be a rally car, but it doesn't really matter. I have the one Avant car that I did a while ago now, and I love the thing. And I really do hope they get a little better distribution here in the US, because their cars are worth buying. They are, I mean, like MRs, like Slot, like Scale Auto, like NSR, so many other high quality hobbyist grades of cars. You know what you're getting when you get an Avant slot car, when you get an MRSlot car. You're getting, what the company feels is peak performance, and they put a lot of effort into making these cars fast and look nice. So it's awesome to see MR doing on one end of the spectrum with Indy cars, and then kind of on the other end of the spectrum with Japanese rally cars. Very, very cool, guys. Very cool. Pollicar is showing a new lane change. Now, if you notice really close, the rail, so to speak, where the power gets transmitted is a coil, not unlike you would have seen years ago, or probably even currently with HO stuff. And they're having like bendy track, or track that you can move in a snake or at a corner. Just movable, flexible track. You all know what I'm talking about. It's interesting that Pollicar have decided to go this route, because it allows them to have them kind of sell the plans for track to be 3D printed, and then for them to make really oddball pieces of track with just this kind of bendy curl of rail, the loopy rail, the bendy rail idea in that track piece. So it really opens up a lot of possibilities for them with very odd shapes of track that maybe not everyone would buy. You could buy the plan, the CAD file, the whatever, the printable file, and print it your damn self and make what you'd like. I like that idea, of course. Revo Slot are coming at us live yet again with 3 beautiful Supras. They are arriving today at some dealers. I know for a fact LEB is getting theirs today, and I really am a big fan of the Supra. I have a pink martini one here that I really love, and you can't go wrong with Revo either. It is a very, very different design aesthetic, design thought process that Revo used with, a fairly heavy aluminum chassis, but nice all metal, highly machined, very precise parts. And you got to tune it, guys. It comes assembled, but as it comes to you, it's got to be tuned. You need to understand that. If you get a Revo car, probably if you get a Revo car or a new BRM car, you all know that, but you got to understand that going in, guys. It is not something that's going to run perfectly right out of the box. In any case, we have a little bit of model news. Now, I don't normally get too deeply because there's a lot of models that come out. These are specifically 1/32 scale models by Aoshima. I have shared these on the Slot Car News Facebook page. Please follow the only official Slot Car News Facebook page, and you can see that I posted the news from Aoshima about these cars. Now there's a Supra that they're doing. It's the current Supra body, at least I believe so, unless they made any year-to-year changes, which, to be fair, I don't think they have. And also, and this is going to be very exciting to some folks out there, the NSX. Now Aoshima start anyway with street cars, and there are quite a few different liveries of other 1/32 scale models that you can find that have been done by Aoshima that are, they're pretty much all street cars. Now, in their 1/24 scale line, they do quite a few race cars, but this is not a racing NSX. I believe it's going to come in multiple colors. So far, the sheet that I'm showing here, they're only coming in 2 colors, at least initially, and as you see in September. One of the really good things about these models is they're snap kits, which are much more approachable by most people, quite frankly. I'm fine with that. They do really beautiful snap kits to the point where, when you get these things properly assembled, they don't have that kind of old, clunky snap kit feeling like we might have had in the 70s, like when I was a kid. They come with really nice stickers for the body detail, like the gasket around the windows and the headlights and such, the tail lights, of course. And they do a really nice job with these. The great thing is, I've been winding up to this, is the price. Now, the price of these is usually way under $20. I believe these are being shown on PlazaJapan.com. I have no connection with that company. I just look at them for kind of my go-to to see what models are being released. These are the NSXs, I believe, are being shown at somewhere just a little under $20. The other 1/32 scale kits that they've made in the past, Aoshima that is, have been somewhere around $12 retail, and it's usually $2 off. So the kit is usually only about $10. And then the unfortunate thing is shipping is usually about $10 as well for each car or whatever. If you order a bunch of stuff, obviously it gets a little cheaper. And I've ordered quite a few kits from them, but it's a great way to get if you're into Japanese cars, a great way to get a really, really high quality model that you wouldn't be able to get pretty much from anybody else. It's awesome that they're doing this. I'm personally very excited. Another bit of news as far as arrivals go. LEB, who are good friends of mine, I don't know, I don't have to explain myself. I was just talking with Lynn before I got down here with you all, and she's getting another shipment of the Gurney McLegal, the McLaren, and the other McLaren, kind of the Mexico City McLaren, kind of a cream color or white car. She's getting restocks on those, I believe, on Monday, and she's been selling these things like absolutely like crazy. She sold out of her entire first batch, and now she's getting these other cars, and I expect these to sell out as well. Go to leb.com to pick up yours this coming week. After this, we have an editorial that I have written down some notes for because I want to get this right. And yes, we are going to beat that dead horse. Come right back after this, folks. Alrighty, guys. Yes, dead horse time. So, tariffs. As you may have seen, prices have started to creep up. Some dealers have already kind of priced in the last few weeks a price increase, a gradual one, or they've kind of done it in a block where prices have gone up, let's say, on a, what did I have for an example, about an $89 car. That car is now maybe going to be about $92, $94. It makes perfect sense to do this, quite frankly, because, you know, you get some sticker shock, especially when we start to hit those 145% tariffs, which we will start to hit now because a lot of the things that were on the water have now arrived. I had a discussion earlier at some point in the last few days that there is still obviously tremendous uncertainty about all of this, with very little guidance, help to smaller dealers, and frankly to manufacturers that happen to be based here in the US about what is going to happen exactly when. They do have a pretty good idea about when. They do not have a good idea about what. That's kind of the problem. So a shipment had just arrived from a manufacturer's place in China. I won't mention that manufacturer, but they just did get a restock of a lot of things. Unfortunately, not too many cars. But so those came in at the slightly lower tariff. But that was the last thing that they're going to be able to hit at that lower tariff before the next batch, which will be at 145%. And also, by the way, tariffs from goods coming from Vietnam now are going to be hit with 45% tariff increase. So anything made there is going to go up profoundly, to say the least. So it's really unfortunate because we're now kind of hitting the meat of the problem here, where we're into the summer with slot cars where it does slow down quite a bit, where, you know, average dealers, and I've, you know, been in the business long enough to know, you know, when I was taking the orders for the largest dealers online, and those were the people that I normally had dealt with as a sales rep when I was, especially like for Scale Electric, I had the biggest 8 or so people online, and you know, the sales would drop off to damn near nothing during the summer, and obviously then pick back up as it started to get colder in northern US. Obviously, you know, back to school time changes the kind of season, and things pick back up. Thankfully, if you're in sales, you always like to hear or like to know that it's coming to the end of the year, because your sales just completely go up a lot. The problem is now some of these companies are definitely holding off on bringing in anything at all until they kind of see what's going to happen. So if things go on longer than we hope, we're going to start to hit Christmas with some of this stuff, because it takes about 6 weeks. If you have a West Coast port, then you can change that to about 4 weeks to get from Asia, from the Orient in general, to the West Coast of the US. If you have to go to Europe, it's 6 weeks at least shipping time, and then about 2 weeks to get it from Europe back to the US. Again, depending on how you do that, unless you use Royal Mail, which a lot of folks do, because Royal Mail is quite cheap and quite dependable. Brits might be snickering, but it is more dependable and cheaper than our USPS here in the US. So if we go into, and we're obviously only in May, and yes, I've heard, like everybody else, that there is discussions that may start to happen. There are evidently currently no discussions happening, depending on who you want to believe, about the tariff issue specifically from China. And clearly there aren't any going on with Vietnam, because the tariffs were off, now they're back on again. So if this starts to move into June, heaven forbid July, perish the thought, August is when stuff starts shuffling around from the Orient into U.S. distribution. Certainly for the big box stores, they want to have stuff in place by the end of August, beginning of September, for sure, just so they have enough lead time to get everything organized and get into their distribution centers for Christmas. Trust me, this is how this happens, folks. I've been in these discussions, not that I was leading them, but I've been there sitting with my boss at the time, talking with the Walmart buyer, talking with Hobby Lobby, Hobby Town, about the timeline for things. And they like to have everything finalized before now, by the way, so they can allocate money and pay this or that, and figure out where things are going to be. All that planning has already happened by this point. Yes, for Christmas, guys. With uncertainty now, that pushes all of this back. Even if everything changes tomorrow, we've already lost some time. You as a consumer might not feel it, but trust me, this is playing havoc for the larger companies in the business, for large toy companies especially. I saw a statistic the other day that people are tracking certain toys. Barbies are among them, and they've gone up 50%. That's incredible. So regardless, we're getting to rubber meeting the slot car track at this point, and it's going to get dicey out there, guys. Companies are holding off ordering anything. Slot car companies are holding off. Dealers are holding off, who happen to be distributors as well, holding off doing any kind of order with any company who manufactures in China. As far as I know now, there have been lists created of non-Chinese parts that some companies might make that have been supplied to certain dealers, so at least those parts can be brought in. Like, let's say if they're made in Europe, they can be brought in at a greatly reduced tariff. I think it's maybe only 20%, but that you'll probably see some of that get passed along, but not all of it. all of this is to say, we're still about in the same boat we were a few weeks ago, and now we're getting further deeper into this with no substantive discussion, certainly that we've heard about, and more importantly, because you and I'm just the guy here in my basement talking toy cars. I don't technically work for any company. You all know my situation, but the companies I'm hearing are getting, completely off kilter about everything because they don't know what to do. They don't know how long this is going to last, and it is terrible, absolutely terrible for business that all of this is happening, regardless if it gets cleared up in the next couple weeks. We've gone pretty deep here again, folks. I do appreciate you all sticking through the beating this dead horse yet again, but it's important that I bring this to you because I'm one of the few people, I believe anyway, that talks directly to distributors, manufacturers, dealers too, of course, and I can, I believe, get a clearer picture than most people will be able to get. And certainly, I mean, I hear excuse me, I hear a number of things that I'm not allowed to repeat. Suffice to say, what I've talked about here isn't even a tenth of the agita that people are going through, just from what I've heard. In any case, folks, thanks very much. I know I have been slipshod in not having as many live streams as I should. I've been really busy on the weekends, and I'm going to be shooting some stuff for my church this coming Sunday. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to get to a live stream. I do really want to get to one, and I'm sorry for not having one recently, but there we are. Thank you very much for showing up, folks, week after week for the news. I really appreciate it. See you all again soon.